It's nice to have a quiet mind. We all experience it, now and then, when we're sleeping. Maybe. And, I was just reading something Baba was talking about this. So, you say true bliss is a ice cream sundae. He goes, oh, really? What is it that happens? And he says, it's actually not the taste of the food. It's that it is so powerful that your mind stops. And in that moment, all there is the chocolate or the vanilla and that flavor, and everything else stops. And that's the true joy that you're feeling, is the mind stopping. So it happens every day. You do have these experiences, and they're the experiences that you really appreciate and enjoy. You attribute it, oh, it was that. But really it was an internal state, you see. And just, so you want to look for that stillness. You're not going to find it outside of yourself, really. Well, you can keep looking for Sundays, but then you end up looking like me. It's not that bad, but still. There's a stillness inside of you, inside of everyone right now. It's universal. It's there, it's guaranteed it's there. And you really can't find it from here, because this is noise. Your mind is just running all the time. And your mind isn't able to go to that stillness easily. The stillness is there. And you don't have to do anything to get there. It's already there. And I think sometimes trying to get there, it's like trying to sleep. When you try to sleep, you can't do it. You see? It just is there if you can accept that in this moment, there is complete and utter stillness. Just take it on my say-so. Take it on faith if you don't know it here. It doesn't matter about here. This is just, this mind is not meant to be your ruler. It's only meant as a tool for dealing with this appearance of duality. It's meant to help the body survive. It's just a tool. It's not meant to be your master. So there's no need to get lost in all that. It's just a bunch of noise, and some of it's important and most of it isn't. You see? So when I talk about, sitting quietly, I'm just talking about something very, very simple. Just be aware of your surroundings. Just be aware of what is inside of you now. There is a stillness. There is something that runs through everything that's totally peaceful. You see? And that's where you want to be. You see? That's the ice cream sundae of your life. It's always there. So when you're involved with your thoughts all the time, you forget about it. You can't see it. You can't find it. But when the thoughts are just around, they're not the primary thing. Then it's obvious. You see, it takes a little time to switch the lenses. That's all. And part of that is establishing within yourself an assurity that what I'm talking about is true. If you're absolutely sure that there is a stillness present in this moment, it will overcome you. It will come. You see? That's nice. So you come to satsang, you listen to these words, and some of it may rub off on you. It did in my case. You see, it just kind of rubs off on you, and you get more of a sense of what it is I'm really talking about, which isn't what the words are, because the words are just taken in by a mind. And the mind is never going to understand this, because there's nothing to understand. You see, there's nothing to understand about. The stillness is universal. You could not. There's nothing to understand about it. There's nothing for the mind to hold on to. The mind is good at real finite things, defined things. The mind's good for that. It can hold on to those things and make distinctions. That's what it's used for. But something that's universal is like, the mind's not the right tool. So the gurus, the teachers, they all teach all these different techniques for stilling the mind. Oh, there's so many. There's meditation, there's mantra, there's chanting, there's any number of things to ease this addiction to thought. You see, the thoughts will just go on, but they don't need you. The mind does its job, but how is it that you have decided that you are this body-mind? How is it that that happened? You should ask yourself, how is it that it happened? And does it make any sense? Because if you're this body-mind, then someone else is another body-mind. There's billions of body-minds everywhere. And what happens to all those body-minds in 100 years? Really, what happens? Doesn't seem like a very substantial thing to be. They just come and go. Now, this stillness, it's universal, and it breaks down all the distinctions, like between you and me, and just all that sense of individuality, of separateness. Because in essence, we're all the same. It's very simple, really, you know? Our essence is the same. Hey, look who's back. So it's a different thing. You see, minds are no good at universal things. And so it's better if the mind is here and you're somewhere else. You see? You don't want to go through this life with this body without a mind. That would not be a long trip. That would be very short, unsuccessful. So you have a mind, you use it to do the things you think you should do. But don't become attached to it or identified with it, you see. There's no need to be identified with anything. Yes?
How would you define a successful life?
Oh, that was probably a poor choice of words. Every life just is, you see. So, what I was referring to was just that the body survived for, without like doing something stupid like falling off a cliff.
Oh, okay.
Like that. But I knew when that came out of my mouth, it was like, yeah, what does that mean? So, I'm not very careful with my words. Ramesh would have my head. He was very, very specific and careful with his words. But I'm not a detail guy, you see. General picture is my thing. So you can easily get me on the details. Good job. You see, I'm not very hung up on it, though, because I don't feel anything I've ever said has been true. So it doesn't matter to me. But there's an essence in what I'm talking about that I feel probably breaks through. When I was with Ramesh and with Baba and Shree, I thought I really understood what they were teaching. I was even told I had a deep understanding about what they were talking about. I was sure I had a whole system worked out in my mind. And I spent a long time thinking about it. But in the end, what I understood didn't matter at all. So it's just a game. I'll say the words, you ask the questions, I'll make up answers. But the essence of what I'm talking about is still in this room. Still really what is here. Has nothing to do with the words. It's just that sense of oneness that is present right here, right now. And you can't really find words for that fit. As soon as you find a word, it's not right. I'll do it anyway because that's what I do. And that's what my gurus did too. But really what it was, I could feel the essence of what they were talking about just by hanging out with them, just by being around them. I could kind of feel it. Now I had that kind of, that jnani mind. I had the mind that really wanted to know. So I tried to find out. It was a mystery. Come to find out that it can't be known in that way, not intellectually, but it can be known. How you feeling? Yes, sir.
Okay, on Thursday you had said something that kind of struck me. It's been rolling around in my head, and I was wondering if you could expound on it a little more. You said that it's more important to be okay with who and what you are right now than to be enlightened.
Then to
be enlightened. It's more important to be okay with who and what you are right now than to be enlightened.
Well, yes, because you see, being enlightened is something that you think you can get to and you want to get to, right? Being okay with who you are right now is actually enlightenment, you see. If you're 100% okay with yourself as you are and as you are not, then you're at total peace with everything. Mission accomplished. So what I was doing was by saying it in that way, just getting you out of the trap of thinking you had to get to enlightenment. You see, like I thought enlightenment was going to be like really, really, really cool. I thought it was going to be like, and really, no, and in some ways it was, but it's so much more modest than that. It's so much more ordinary than that. And when it happened, I remember talking to a friend of mine, and she said, well, that sounds a lot like enlightenment. And I said, well, I don't know if this is enlightenment. All I can say is I'm at peace with myself. You see? So I was leaning you in that direction because, you know, enlightenment has a lot of baggage. There's a lot of things you think it is, and none of them are correct, I'm sure. It's much greater and much more ordinary than you think. That's the thing. You know, how hard do you have to work to do nothing? How much effort does it take for your mind to be still? You see? No matter how hard you try. Yeah, so if you can just look at yourself as you are right now and just kind of get that you're exactly the way God made you, then you don't have to do anything to make it better or to fix it. And you can take it easy, you see. There's a book called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment. I recommend it. It was a very short book because the guy didn't want to write much. But yeah. But really, you see, it is. It's a lazy man's journey. It's like you just work and work and work until you give up. And when you give up, maybe something can happen. You see? Mm-hmm.
Is there an obsessive compulsive person's guide to enlightenment?
Why wouldn't there be? I'm sure there is, but
Dummy's guide.
the dummy's guide.
Just let go.
Yeah, but how can you do it? Why don't you obsess about letting go? Oh, you see, that's the way God made you. And, you know, it's kind of like maybe just because you're obsessive and compulsive, it made you suffer enough to get here. You know, this is really only for people who have suffered enough that they're ready to be done with it, you see. If you're still enjoying the ride, you know, if you're into it, then there's no reason to listen to anything I have to say. This is for people who are kind of like, shouldn't this movie be over by now? So you see, that's not everybody. Most people are here for the movie, for the whole thing, beginning to end. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, our movie was just poorly executed and directed, bad enough that it's like, Maybe we want to get out of the damn theater. Start pretending. So these things in our lives that we look at and we think, oh, Jesus, this is we got screwed. You know, why did I have to go through this? Well, you had to go through it so that you could get here for your journey, you see. The spiritual journey isn't for everybody. And certainly not a spiritual journey that requires complete annihilation of the ego. You see, so that's rare. So, you know, that's what's going on. It's not for everybody, but it's for a few apparently. Yes, sir.
Do you lose consciousness when you sleep, Ananta? I mean, do you, when you sleep at night,
Yes.
do you lose consciousness at all?
Oh yeah, I go into deep sleep, sure.
Where does awareness go?
Oh, it's gone altogether, just like everybody else. You see? So when you're in deep sleep, you don't know who you are. You don't know where you are. You don't even know that you exist. You see? That would be the natural state. That would be the state before you were born. You see? Yes?
But awareness is eternal, so to speak.
Well, no, you're talking about personal awareness. You see? Personal awareness, the awareness of your personal existence is one thing. Understand that after you've had deep sleep, you wake up and you feel great. You feel refreshed. You see? So it gives you that peace. You're just dwelling in that peace. You know, the thing is, when you experience something personally, it's one thing. When you experience something impersonally, it's something else entirely. It's universal then.
I see. So when you say, I see, yet that universal that is still awake during sleep, is it aware of any phenomena around it, around the body of Ananta?
Oh, in my case, I don't know anything. I'm not even there. Same as with you.
But some people claim when they go to sleep, they're still awake.
Oh yes, there are states like that, but that's not deep sleep. That's different. There's lucid dreams and there's other states on the way to deep sleep and on the way out. But deep sleep itself is like you don't even exist.
How do you differentiate between the quote-unquote reality that we're experiencing right now and a lucid dream? Could this not all be a lucid dream and we're going to wake up and go, wow, I feel refreshed? Or
Yes, absolutely, this is a lucid dream. Absolutely. This is a dream. Oh, it is, of course. This is just a dream that for a lifetime you wake up to. A lifetime seems like a long time, but it's not. It's not. So yes, this is definitely a dream. This dream, though, you have determined has more substance than the dream you had last night. But let me tell you, when you wake up from this dream, you'll know it was just a dream. It'll have no substance at all.
And waking up is the enlightenment.
Well, waking up is dying.
Or enlightenment.
Well, either way.
Believe
Either
me.
way, we know that there's still the burden of the body, so it's not the full step, but yeah. You know, it does make your daily existence more peaceful.
More peaceful?
Peaceful, less burdensome. So, you know, the things that trouble your mind, the emotions that have residue and stickiness to them, that doesn't happen. So you know, it just makes daily existence like it's kind of like right now you have your thoughts and feelings and bodily functions, all of it in the forefront. That's what you see first. Okay? If that could just be secondary, if the sense of peace, the sense of stillness were primary, if that were the forefront, and then all of the thoughts and feelings, bodily functions, all of that is somewhere down the line, second, third, fourth, like that. That's the enlightenment, okay? That's the only difference, really. It's just what's in the forefront. So this identification with thought and feeling, the idea that these are your thoughts and your feelings, this is your body, this is who you are, that brings all of that front and center and makes it appear that that's primary. But it was never primary, it could never be primary. It's temporary. It's just a passing phase, it's like a dream. You see? So what's primary is what has always been here. It was here before you were born, it will be here after you die. It's everywhere, it's universal, and that's just this sense of peace, this sense of stillness. You can call it love if you like. It's a nice word.
Or wouldn't it be consciousness?
Yes. Yes.
Because I have the experience of, I remember being born, I remember before I went into the body, I remember choosing the body, I remember all of it. And so I was in that state before I came here.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a consciousness and I was aware of the decision, I was aware, it's like I still had a consciousness that thought, so to speak.
But you're talking about conscious awareness, like personal consciousness. So I'm even predating it before that. But that's what you can remember personally. That's all. That's fine. It goes back even further than that.
When you say goes back further, what do you mean? Back of what? Back?
Before there was a you to be aware of it. You see?
When you're just part of the cosmos, or you're an energy. Maybe.
Which you are now, actually.
Yeah,
you
right.
are now.
Yeah.
So really, there appear to be all these distinctions. There
Right.
appears to be me talking to you, you talking to me. That's all an appearance. We're all one. Everything is one. Everything is a single thing. That, you know, it's like, it's all consciousness. It's all, but not conscious awareness. It's all one.
It's all one movie.
It's all one everything, yes. And there appear to be differences. So, you know, you look at the TV screen and there's a drama going on. There appears to be a man talking to a woman and this happening and that happening. Nothing is happening. Everything's just a screen with these shadows and sounds. It's not, there's no separation there. No one walked into the kitchen in your house and said, "Hey, I'm from the TV. I'm real." No. And so here you've got a very detailed, elaborate, high-quality television show. It's really good. You can't even see any lines. Yes.
So you're referencing Plato's allegory of the cave, right?
I don't know.
You're talking about a screen with shadows and...
Yeah? Oh, I don't know what that allegory is.
Yeah, that's, I think, Plato's allegory of the cave, that we're like chained and we're looking at shadows appearing on the screen. We get really used at naming the shadows, and we don't really know what the shadows represent.
Oh, they're just shadows.
So what is real?
Well, if there's going to be a real and unreal, okay, then you're dealing with what isn't real, because you're dealing with things that have apparent distinctions. But since I'm using words here, we are dealing from that. So, to give you an answer, I'm going to say, what's real is that which never changes. You see? That which has always been here and always will be here. You see? And so what's unreal is that which is transitory, which changes all the time. That would put your mind, your thoughts and your feelings in the unreal category, because they're constantly changing. But it would put this sense of oneness, this sense of stillness and peace, in the real category, you see, because that never changes and it's always here. But in truth, nothing is real or unreal. Yes?
Making the distinction between awareness and consciousness. I haven't been making that distinction myself, but in what sense consciousness is consciousness if you come back from sleep and it's as if you're practically unconscious? So you may as well make consciousness and unconsciousness make it one, so to speak. Because really, why call it consciousness at all?
Well, it's just another word for God. You see, without so much baggage.
Even that, why do I want it? Why do I want it?
Good question. You'll have to answer that for yourself. But the thing about this state of being pure, without all the other stuff in the way, is that it's peaceful. And the thing about the thoughts and the feelings and being involved with them is that it's not peaceful. So it's stressful.
I get that, but even God, when we talk about God, God is conscious of God. I mean, like, our consciousness knows itself, at least.
Nah.
No?
Well, you know, you can
So
work at
why
any.
call it consciousness at all?
Well, you know, it's just another word, and if it doesn't work for you, find one that does. You see, so Ramesh used consciousness a lot. Consciousness is all there is, he would say. Baba said, everything is God. You see? God said, Baba said, God dwells within you as you. Worship and bow to your own inner self. Now, it doesn't matter what word you use, but it has to be one that works for you. A lot of people don't like the word God, there's too much baggage on it. And you know, here I'm not talking about a good God or a bad God, a God that makes everything good and loving, because everything is what it is. You see? So your personal awareness of something is only important to you. How are you going to be personally aware of anything in 1,000,000 years? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in 1,000. It's not even going to happen in 100. It's just a temporary phenomenon that you have personalized your world. But this world is not personal. You see? This world is just a single unicity. Yoga means union, you know? That's what it's all about. It's just a single unicity that is always happening and not happening at the same time. You don't have to worry about it. You're trying to get there from here, and that won't work. This can't go there, but as soon as this stops, you're there.
Yes, but I'm there, and at least I can, even when I come back to the so-called me, I can report on it.
Right.
And when I don't come back to the so-called me, there is a certain awareness that it's okay where I am. Well, whatever, I have to use language. It's okay whatever that awareness is. Even then, I mean, it's like, it is not unhappily compelled to look at itself.
Reporting about it is like the booby prize.
I understand. I mean, ultimately, maybe I want to be not to come back and report about it. I guess what's bothering me here is the deep sleep state. While we come back feeling refreshed, and so sometimes, okay, it is really not appealing at all to look at it as anywhere I want to go to.
Ah,
That's what I'm trying to say.
see.
I mean, I want peace, of course, but even that peace, or even we call God consciousness, there is at least consciousness of itself, and there's consciousness. You know, there is Shiva, there is also Shakti, and Shakti is infinite change. So it's like, yes, Shiva is at peace, but phenomena still exist.
Yes.
And there is an awareness that is awareness, yeah, at least of itself being a phenomenon. I mean, something. I mean, so it seems to me like there's no difference between going to deep sleep and committing suicide with no sense of transcendence whatsoever. For me, it seems like they are all practically the same right now, in the way it is being languaged.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you have a good point. I remember when I was with Baba in India the first time, and he was much harsher in India than he was in America. He like had you already hooked, so he could just be more real, like a real person instead of a Santa Claus. And I heard him saying, "Oh yeah, enlightenment. Enlightenment's like committing suicide while remaining in the body." And I'm like, oh, that's not really what I signed up for. And but in my case, because of my relationship with him, it didn't matter. It was I was done for.
I do not mind the psychological suicide. Even physical suicide is happening anyway, sooner or later. But something knows that suicide has taken place.
As long as there is a body and a mind, if the awareness is there, it will be there. Either way, whether the enlightenment has happened or not. However, so I was with Ramesh, and we were flying, like when he came to visit me on Maui, and so we took him on all the touristy things, and we took him up on a helicopter to see the island. And afterward, Ramesh told me, he goes, yeah, the whole time in the helicopter I sat there with my eyes closed and just imagined the helicopter crashing and how nice that would be to just be silent, stillness, always. I never questioned Ramesh. It was like, okay. But now, but it seemed like, what an odd thing, but now I know exactly what he's talking about. So you're identified with an individual and you want some sort of way to report and to hold this if it comes, okay? But that is so inconsequential to the actual event.
I wish I could say right now in my question with the pain, right now it doesn't seem I give a whole lot of crap about Waleed, sincerely. I mean, like I do because I'm still an ego, but really I'm more saying like, does consciousness knows itself? If it doesn't, then, I mean, does it stillness knows itself? Does it know itself as a stillness? I mean, is it when I use the word consciousness, what is pleasing about consciousness is the knowing that knows.
Listen, when you're everything, it does not arise.
That you need to.
Yes, it doesn't even arise. So this only arises from the point of view of an individual. So something that is everything, it doesn't even arise at all to go, oh, I'm everything, look at me.
I hear you. So in deep sleep, we are there.
You're already there,
Therefore,
but there's no you involved in it. So
it
you
cannot be
can't,
reported on.
so you can't relate to it because you're not even there. It doesn't mean that nothing's there, but the you who you think you are now is absent. You see, there's nothing to report.
I was just wondering, I don't know if this is what Waleed is talking about, but it's such a curious, I can't find the words, but you know how Ramana or a lot of those Eastern people, they talk about when the I, there's the awareness and there's sort of the witnessing of the character that you know you're not the character anymore, but there's still the witnessing going on.
Yes.
And then at some point, the I, supposedly the I disappears back into the heart, and that the witnesser disappears. The one who would witness disappears, and everything just is oneness. So
Yes.
there can be nobody to witness. But that's all grace, right? That just happens.
Yeah, it
when
just happens. And as long as there's this appearance of duality, there can be a witnesser. You see, the witnessing happens because of that appearance. There is a moment where God is going, oh, I am. You see? So you're living in that right now. But in the vast scheme of things, it's totally unnecessary and wouldn't arise. Only because there's an appearance of distinction does it arise.
You know, I can really see why, like Ramana, when the I disappeared for Ramana, and Lakshmana Swami, when that happened with him, there was this period of time where they were so absorbed
Yes.
in thatness that they didn't eat, and all these things happened to their bodies.
Yeah, people had to take care of them.
Yeah. So that's pretty radical.
Yeah. Yeah.
When that I just dissolves back into the heart.
I imagine a lot of bodies don't even survive it.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah, because I think when Lakshmana Swami, he had this Indian girl come to him that he knew was going to come, and he knew that if he didn't take care of her, that the body would die. After the eye had gotten absorbed, that the body would just drop.
Yeah.
And that she somehow had work to do or something. So he felt responsible to take care of her in some way.
Karma.
Yeah, I guess.
So that you see, it's just how it all works here. Because we're living a dream here where there appear to be distinctions. even though there are not distinctions, because the universe is infinite, there has to be the appearance of distinctions. And so there you are. And so it's just part of the dance. And the only reason we're talking about it is because of these apparent distinctions. Otherwise, there'd be nothing to talk about, because everything would just be what it is. There is nothing to understand anyway. Yes, sir.
Going back to what he was talking about, the difference between awareness, consciousness, self-awareness, and all that, I kind of think about like a little newborn baby. They're aware, but they're not having thoughts, not like we are. They don't have consciousness like we do, but they're aware, so that awareness is primary. And if you ask a little baby, what do you think about yourself today? They're not going to have self-awareness because they don't have a sense of self.
Yeah, you kind of hope not.
So, I don't know, I guess I think awareness has to be primary before cognition or quote-unquote consciousness can even be.
So if you know any little babies, what I would ask them is, do you remember before you were born? Then they can teach you.
I heard it explained like this, like the oneness is primary, and then consciousness is a split. It's two-ness, so it's not the primary. Oneness is what's real. Consciousness is second. It's like the first split, and then there's all of us, another split. So consciousness isn't even what we're talking about when we talk about the oneness.
Right. It just is a matter there of definitions. I have a feeling that when Ramesh spoke of consciousness, he was speaking the same as when I speak of oneness.
Right.
You see?
Right, because consciousness implies being conscious of something.
Right,
So
but
there's
that's not
two-ness.
how he meant it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was a universal thing he was talking about, not a personal thing. I know that. So it's just, you get all hung up in different definitions for words sometimes. So that's why you pick the words that work for you. And it's like all of these things, these are just concepts. They're just beliefs. They're not true. Your beliefs throughout your life change all the time. Just be flexible with your beliefs so that when it's time for them to change, you're not too rigid to do it. You see?
And, when you talk about the baby part, I look at a little baby and I go, oh, I wish I had a moment like that. I knew separation instantly. If I wasn't with my mom, I would scream. I knew pain instantly. She put me down.
Babies
So
do know
babies
that.
do have a
Yes,
self-awareness.
they have that, of course. And they're
I
just
think.
coming into it. So you see, because then the baby is held by its mother and merges with the
Right.
mother. Everything's
And then
okay.
everything would be,
Right.
even though there was pain, that unity with the love made me feel like I could still live.
Right.
Otherwise,
I'm sorry.
otherwise, a lot of those babies that were left in the crib didn't live.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're finding out with me, is that my mom didn't follow the rules. She followed her heart. So, I do think there is some sense, I guess some babies get it
Yeah.
early.
Yeah.
And then it takes a lot longer, like you said, you're a nut to crack to let that kind of go. But I'm getting there.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, there's nowhere to get.
Well, it doesn't matter.
And so I'm
Still progressing.
I'm there.
There. You like the uncola.
I'm on my way to nowhere fast.
That's your bumper sticker.
I wonder if it's consciousness or that awareness that we're talking about is more, to me, what it felt like more was like this intuitive part, the part that's intuitive,
Right.
you know, that was what the consciousness that was there before I came into the body. There was
Right.
that intuition, which is still with me, and it's still me, and
Well,
part of me and part of everything.
But that's all personalized now.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
something,
Go through that.
all of this is something that you knew before you knew anything. It's like you knew it before the mind ever touched it to realize what it knew. That's all this is. This is just, just, this is just a reminder of what you already know. And, inside, there's nothing new, I'm telling you. Everyone knows the stillness. We all came from the same place. It's like we all came from the same exact place. There's absolutely no difference between us.
Aren't we
Yeah.
just in that place already? That it's not like even that we came?
Yes,
That
yes,
we just
indeed.
are?
Indeed, but it's just easier to point to where we came because right now you forget, so, at least you know you used to know. Yes.
Purpose and intention. Can you talk about purpose and intention and doership?
Oh my goodness, what a can of worms. Well, look, there's something to be said for sincerity. So, when you hear these words, if you apply them 100%, you put everything you have into it, and you accept this. So, like, if you know in your heart that what I'm saying is true, if you can feel it's true, and you can hold on to that. Now, Nisargadatta, he went to his guru for a very short time. That's Ramesh's guru. He wasn't there very long. He went to his guru and he listened to what he said, and then he went home and he just applied it. It's like his guru said that none of this is real, that you're not who you think you are. And he just looked at the whole world through this lens. And within 2 years, he fully understood what his guru was talking about. So, it does require that. You can call it intention or purpose. I always had what I called a spiritual priority. So, my priority wasn't about making money, unless it was making money to go to India, be with my gurus like that. I had a spiritual priority. That's what I called it, you see. So I would put my energy into hanging out with my gurus. And that was my priority, was this search. Because what I wanted to know who I was, you see. So I put everything into that. I just made it a priority. And so that is what's required, is that level of sincerity where you hear this, whatever rings true in your heart, and you apply it, like no joking, apply it. Like seriously, not as just a little hobby that you do every now and then. You go to a talk once in a while, and, okay, that's nice, I feel good, and forget about it. You see, but you take it with you and apply it, like a lot, like most of the time, like eventually all of the time. Then it will reap the results, you see. But there's a tremendous inertia already built in to this identification with the body-mind. it has a will of its own. It's like everything is going in that direction, and it takes a strong amount of sincerity to go against that successfully, to manage to apply this stuff consistently. It can be done though. It can be done. So that's, I would relate to your notion of doership, the idea of application and and purpose. Ultimately, all of it's nonsense. But in my case, that's what was required. Just to find out no one ever did anything and there was nothing to be done. But it took a lot to do that. So you see, it's funny how the truth is. It has no rules. So I know that this can work. If you take the stuff that I've said that has resonated with your heart and you apply it like 100%, like you give it your energy all of the time, it will reap results. And the results are worthwhile because they're a constant state of peace. And people don't realize how much stress they're living under. But it's a lot of stress to believe that you're a body-mind. It's a lot of stress. It makes your life difficult. Whereas everything really, when that sense of stillness is primary, there's no more difficulties.
It's like we're salmon going upstream, isn't it?
Yeah.
You finally get on the other side and then you just die.
Watch out for the bears.
If you're lucky, you get enlightenment right there on your deathbed for like 5 minutes, you're alive and you understand the ultimate reality.
Maybe that grace thing is just a big bear claw that comes and eats you.
One of my teachers used to say about the absolute God that we're talking about, as if it may as well not exist for people. So he talks about, let's talk about the other God, the God that cares for humanity. In other words, that many teachers acknowledge beings in between death and that absolute oneness in which to even talk about it becomes ridiculous, or even
Yes.
point at it becomes ridiculous. But would you say something about that beings in between the human beings that we are and that absolute oneness that comes, and about beings that actually involve the human? I mean, we often, I have, and I know other people have, very intimate experiences that don't belong to the belief systems of other realities, let's say, okay, and that is very precious. And I do not want to throw it out if it's the projection of my higher self. I could, I suppose, but I could do anything with it, because it's open for any interpretation. But I'd like to know from your angle, do you experience beings, the gradation between being in...
No, I know people who do, and they specialize in it. I know someone who gives angel readings and people who communicate with other planes of existence quite well, and they learn a lot from it. But that's not what I do, you see. I don't have that gift, and I don't have, you see, what I'm here to do is to bring peace Now, as long as there's identification with thought and feeling, whether it's on this plane or another plane, it's still going to be difficult.
So,
Yes. So if you want an end to suffering, then let all that stuff be wherever it is. If you have the gift to see and communicate, great. That can be very useful for you. I know a lot of people have, it served them to have inner communication with beings on other levels. I don't have any problem with that. But here's the thing. No matter what happens in this world, no matter what happens to this body, no matter what feeling you may be having, or what thoughts you may have, there is a stillness that runs through everything. There is a sense of being, that a presence that has no personal identification on it. That's your peace. That's always there. If you were just to change your focus from your thoughts and feelings to that impersonal sense of being, well then those thoughts and feelings are not going to have the same effect on you. They won't be able to disturb your peace because your peace will be front and center. You see? So all I'm saying is just change the lens you're looking through in life. You're looking through this very small lens of personal thoughts and feelings. There's a universal lens of just a sense of being. You can call it that. Or you can call it consciousness, or you can call it God, or you can call it peace, or you can call it stillness, or you can call it oneness. It doesn't matter what you call it, but you know what I'm talking about. If that is the main focus, then the rest of this doesn't matter. Let it do what it wants to do. Your place never changes. It doesn't matter. So, Baba had moods. Mostly he was happy and jolly and everything else. But occasionally, he would get pissed off. But when he got pissed off at someone, started yelling or whatever, he was done with it right after. Right after, it was like nothing ever happened. You see? So nothing disturbed his peace, including anger or sadness or anything. Nothing could disturb his peace. All of that was secondary. The ups and the downs and the thoughts and the feelings. The primary was always peace. So this is the thing. It's so amazing that I can spend all this time talking about something that is so obvious. It's so here always. It's, you have a canvas, and there's all these things painted on it. There's all these thoughts, there's all these feelings, but you forget all about the canvas. The canvas is that stillness. That stillness, that oneness is everything. And then the mind throws its thoughts on it, feelings, this and that. But without that stillness, none of the other stuff could exist. It's the basic. So, it's quite simple, really. Yes.
That one thing I've heard you say it probably in every satsang, which is something that Ramesh said, that God resides within you as you.
Baba.
Baba, I'm sorry. I don't know your gurus, you do.
Doesn't
But
matter.
so in that statement, he's basically saying that your ultimate higher self is God. You are not just like a little spark of God, you're God residing as you.
Yeah.
Like you're not a wave in the ocean, you're an ocean in the wave.
Yes, you see, so, and he didn't make distinctions. He didn't say, well, you know, a little more than you, a little less than you. It's 100% applicable. Doesn't matter who you are. God dwells within you as you. You're just an expression of that. That's all that's going on here. You see?
So so the desire to end suffering, to me this is like one of the ultimate spiritual catch-22s, because unfulfilled desires seem to be like the leading cause of suffering in all of us.
Yes.
So if you have this desire to end suffering in yourself and others, one of the possible outcomes of having that desire is suffering.
Indeed. And many of the saints have written all about that. The longing for God and that suffering. And you know, you see it a lot in Sufi poems and stuff. It ultimately, the seeker is the obstacle. But I'll tell you what I've noticed. What I've noticed is that when the enlightenment happens, it more typically happens in those cases where there has first been seeking. Okay? So, not all the time, but in most cases. So it's not irony. Okay? It's an irony. First, there's a seeker, and then eventually, the seeker gives up, and then something can happen. You see, but don't worry about it. Just seek until you give up.
Ken Wilber says maybe enlightenment is an accident, but if you seek, you become accident prone.
I like that.
That's a good bumper sticker.
I have a question for you. Can we talk about predestination and free will?
Oh, sure. If I were you, I'd choose predestination. I'll tell you why. Because free will involves the me. And as long as you have free will, you have to do certain things and not do others. And you will succeed and you will fail. And you will feel pride and you will feel guilt. And you'll be locked in the whirlwind of the me and not be able to get out. It's like its own prison. Free will is a prison. People think, oh, free will, that's freedom. Wrong. Free will is a prison of guilt and pride and judgment and doing things correctly or wrong. It's just trouble for you. So, Ramesh, when I first came to him, his main teaching then was everything is God's will. And since I was a good disciple, I took that on. And what it did was, it removed the me from my daily life. So instead of everything being my will, everything is God's will, so I'm kind of hands off about it. You see? And then it's like, you just watch what happens, and you can see actually how your life goes, because it really, you could have come here in your helicopter and invited me to your villa. And, you know, it would have been really nice. Because I'm sure your will would have included an amazing way to live. You see? So, apparently, your will is not working that well.
That's true.
Maybe good enough, but not that well. You've got to work on it. So, if you really look at your life, you see how little you had to do with the things that happened. When you look at the really significant events, you know, you talk to the millionaire and you ask them, how did this happen? And they say, well, you know, it was the oddest thing. I was flying to so-and-so and I met someone on the plane and he came up with this idea, this suggestion, and I thought, why don't I do that? And I did. Or I bumped into someone, a friend of a friend, who I happened to, and he set me up in this job, da-da-da-da-da. You see, and all these fluky things just happened. But I'm a self-made millionaire now. You see? But it's not. Things just out of the blue kind of came together to make that happen. That had nothing to do with you. So get the me out of it. Just get the me out of it and accept that everything is God's will, and your burdens will become much less. Your burdens become much less, and then you can look at your life and sit back with an attitude of, let's see what happens. You see? Excuse me. Yes.
Okay, so the going from I am to a state of pure beingness only happens by divine grace.
Yes. I'm afraid so. Well, here's the thing, you see. So, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, I equate it to like poker. You know, the greatest thing in poker is a royal flush. That's the best hand you can get, right? Well, if you never play poker, you're never going to get a royal flush. But if you play it a lot, there's a better chance that it'll happen someday. It's like that, you know. So you play and see what happens. That it's like opening yourself up to grace. You see? So also I'm giving you a lot of tools here that help diminish the ego. And once the ego, you know, all of us, you sit in meditation in life, you have an experience of that oneness I'm talking about, and then you go, wow, that was awesome. And it keeps you going along, you know, because you know what it is you're going for now. Once the ego is diminished enough, then when that experience comes, that oneness, it's like, that's awesome. No one can snatch it from you. The ego can't go, wow, that was great, and like take ownership of it, you see, and take it away. Then no one's even paying attention to the ego, evaluating it and trying to claim it. And then it just stays forever. Then that's just your state. It's just the natural state when the ego no longer has the power. You see? So, that's, so you keep at this, and then when the moment happens again, where you have that experience, once the ego's diminished enough, it won't have the power to pull your attention away from that oneness that is. And then the oneness that is will be primary, And all the other stuff will be secondary, third dairy, fourth dairy, down the line dairy. You see?
All the way to the banana split.
Right. Your whole life can be a banana split. There you go. I can sell this. The Enlightened Sunday.
And it's Sunday today.
It is.
When Nisargadatta talked about consciousness, was he using it like Ramesh? To mean, he really means prior to consciousness.
Yes, he does.
He really means before the mind.
He does really. You know, it's all very hard to talk about, and
Yeah.
he did have some slightly different concepts in the way I've noticed when I read him. Just slightly different ways to use each of the words, and who knows, could have just been the translator too. So,
But that helps me understand, like when I read Nisargadatta a little more. It's like, oh, okay, yeah.
yeah. I mean, you see, ultimately, with consciousness, when you get down to it, you can't say anything about it because no word can contain it. So you see, there's nothing you can say about God or consciousness that could possibly be true. So, you know, we're just doing the best we can here.
Yeah, yeah. I think understanding just helps me be on the same wavelength
Yeah,
with what he's actually trying to get through.
right. Yeah. It's not really, you see, possible to understand. But I encourage you all to try.
Yeah, I think understanding is the booby prize. It-
It's actually not possible, but thinking you've understood is a booby prize at best. It could even be a burden, but it's okay. This is how it's played. It's yes.
So the believing and knowing, there was something you said at one, I think you kind of said something like, beliefs are people that have a lack of knowing, or something like that.
I have no idea. Well, you see, the thing is, beliefs are, you know, beliefs are what got you into this mess. And I'm giving you new beliefs to help you get out of this mess. But once you're out of this mess, you don't need any beliefs at all. So they're just a temporary burden, you see. And it's all right. It's, yes.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, when we're talking about the different gods and then now the beliefs, in Ramana's book, he says the belief in a personal God is one of the last beliefs to go. And then when the questioner said, so are the gods not real? You know, like all the gods in India, they've all, and he said, ultimately, no, they're all part of the dream too, and they will also disappear into the oneness.
Right.
So there is no real personal God either. It's
Oh, no.
just a belief.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. Well, you see, when Baba said God dwells within you as you, sounds kind of personal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But when you consider that he meant everybody, and he meant the same God, well, then it becomes impersonal, you see? So he just had a very crafty way of doing it to suck you in. You know, you can buy, oh, there's a God inside of me, I have that. You see? You can think of it personally for a while. But as you go deeper, it becomes too big for that.
as you're going through the day, and let's say that you're a person that has not achieved quote-unquote enlightenment, is there like a little mantra or something you can focus on to get yourself more towards oneness than that illusion that you are this mind, body, feeling, thought, emotion machine?
Yeah, there's all kinds of mantras. You know, Baba used to give everyone the Om Namah Shivaya mantra, which is, you know, I bow to my inner self, basically. Om Namah Shivaya. So it's like a constant reminder going inward to that self, capital S self, that lives inside of you, that you forgot. You see? So there's tools you can use to remember. I made up my own tools. I was taught all this stuff, and I'd done mantra, I'd done meditation, I'd done all these things. But I started lighting candles on my puja, keeping them burning, and each time making a commitment to remember and not to forget. And then I would write notes and leave them around the house. Things I wouldn't miss. Different things at different times, just to remind me. Because, you know, it's so easy to forget. This is a dream. Everyone's sleeping. Everyone's just going to sleep, forgetting who they are for a while. You see? So it's very easy to just slide right into the dream and forget about it. You forget your own true nature. You forget all about the stillness and just get lost in this personal identity. You see? So at first, it takes a lot to remember. But after some time, it's effortless. That's all. So use whatever trick you can find that works for you. Good then. We'll sit quietly for a short time.
Ananta, if I could just mention, sorry,
Yes?
well, you were just asked about the mantra.
Yes.
As the Soham has been incredibly useful for me.
Soham, I am that.
And I find it brings me back. It brings me back to that sense of oneness. And when you first gave it to me, probably a year and a half ago or something, I kept doing the translation internally. I am that.
Yes.
And then I'm like, that's my mind. I don't need to do that, you know. And so now, more or less, when I do it, I just kind of am reminded of the energy of being in satsang here.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very simple mantra. I don't know. That to me has been the most useful.
It's not for everybody though.
Sure.
Whereas Baba gave Om Namah Shivaya to everybody. But Soham is a great mantra.